Hey guys, so it's totally worth it to be invested in one ecosystem, right? So then why do I use these and then have this? Yes, it's a Samsung. So you might be wondering, why am I using a non-iPhone and lose out on many benefits of one ecosystem? So today I'm going to tell you the reasons why I'm using a Samsung in an Apple environment. Let's go. Let me quickly go over with you guys what I use on the daily. First, I have my MacBook Pro, I have my iPad Air, AirPods, and I have an AirTag that's stuffed somewhere. And then lastly, my Galaxy S23. So I haven't always been a Samsung and Android guy, even though a majority of it was. At one point, I did make the switch, and that was in 2010 to an iPhone 4. But it wasn't for the ecosystem. So now I'm going to get into the reasons why I'm using a Samsung. First reason at the top of my list is the camera. I've always received so many compliments on the photos coming from my Samsung. The camera is always nicely spec'd. 3 cameras, 50 megapixels, image stabilization. It's a power pack camera with so many modes, including a pro mode where I can shoot like a DSLR. One of my favorite features in the camera app is being able to use a palm gesture to take photos. This has been useful for so many occasions when I want to get a selfie shot or even a group shot. The video recording is just as strong. I've been using it to record some of my videos and have had great results shooting at 4K 60, and I have the option to go to 8K, but I'm not going there just yet. One great feature I found was the director's view mode, which allows me to capture video on all 3 cameras at the same time, including the front and rear. So if I wanted to capture a reaction or vlog, I could do that natively on my Samsung. Next up is Samsung Secure Folder. This is one feature I never thought I would need, but I found it to be essential to keep certain data on my phone private. You can think of Secure Folder as a separate profile that's locked behind a passcode or biometrics, and anything inside that folder is encrypted. Since it's a self-contained space, I don't ever have to worry about files or apps crossing over and accidentally letting someone see something they weren't supposed to. Another important feature I think Android does really well is the separation of personal and work spaces. So I have my work email on my phone, and what Google does for you is separate all applications and files into a dedicated space, exactly like the secure folder. So whenever I go into my workspace, all my apps are the work versions of them and are already signed into my work accounts. There's no switching involved. Also, files created in the workspace stay in there, so there's no potential to share something from my personal files. This next reason is a big one. My Android friends, you know what I'm talking about, sideloading apps. For those that don't know, Android makes installing third-party applications really simple. You just need to enable it in settings and you're good to go. This gives you access to a lot more apps that are not available on the Play Store. You can find things like unofficial, custom, or modded apps, and you can also find some amazing emulators for retro gaming. This next reason is my personal favorite. Android phones have always had that one button we could count on, the back button. I'm so glad it's still part of Android today because it's the button I use the most. And it's universal across all Android OS and apps. Even though we have moved on from physical hardware buttons, the back button still exists as an on-screen button, along with a home and resets button if you choose to use it instead of the gestures. Another feature I like is the straightforward file system. When I plug in my phone to the computer with a USB cable, I can just browse my files like a computer. I can drag and drop and move files around whenever I want. And I don't need to deal with syncing and or importing files into a library. It's just grab and go. When it comes to notifications on Android, I feel like I am in control. With Android's notification categories, I can directly turn off specific notification types instead of looking through them through the app or doing a kill all. Also, the organization is on point. I like how Android groups all the notifications, and with my personal, work, and secure profiles, I know exactly which notifications are coming from which profile by the icons. And speaking of icons, I love how I can see them on the always on display. This next one is an obvious one, and that's the integration with Google services. Being able to use Google Assistant by just saying, "Hey Google," right from my Samsung, I can control my home devices like my Google Nest, my smart lights, and my TV with my Chromecast. This last reason is my top reason for using a Samsung, and that is the value of features I'm getting for the money. Even though I don't have Samsung's flagship, the Ultra, I have all the features of an iPhone Pro without paying the Pro price. On the S23, I have a USB-C, 120Hz adaptive screen refresh rate, a 50 megapixel main camera with a total of 3 lenses, and I still have a fingerprint sensor. Even though I have these great reasons for using a Samsung, I am missing a few key benefits of a full Apple ecosystem. The biggest benefit I'm missing from an Apple ecosystem is Airdrop. I love how quickly I can share files with my other Apple devices, and I just wish it worked with my Samsung. There were a number of times where I wanted photos from my friends, and I would have to ask them to use Google Photos or email them to me, which was annoying. However, one workaround I have found if I need to transfer files to myself is to use Smart Switch, which is an application developed by Samsung that is available on Macs. When I plug in my phone, I get the option to browse all my files, and I can just drag and drop between my phone and my Mac. Although it's not a wireless option, I definitely prefer a wired transfer for large files since I've had so many AirDrops fail. Another benefit I'm missing, of course, is iMessage. A majority of my text messages come from iPhone users, and every time they send me a video, it's really poor quality. Not only that, both ends aren't able to use the modern chat features. This is because Androids are still receiving text messages from iPhones with the outdated SMS. With a few Android users that I have texted with on the modern RCS messaging that Google has enabled, all the modern chat features are there, like typing indicators, read receipts, high quality video sharing. It's all there between Android users, but not with Apple. However, we're finally seeing some synergy between Apple and Android because Apple has finally decided to support RCS. One upside I have to mention is that I have the option to access my text messages in the browser through Google Messages. So in effect, I have a similar message syncing experience while on my phone and laptop. So to wrap it all up, my experience with not being fully in the Apple ecosystem hasn't been miserable. There are only a couple of annoyances with the file sharing and messaging experience. Yes, I'd have a more streamlined experience if I were to go full Apple, but then I'd lose out on some of the great features I've been using, such as the separation of personal, work, and private data, the always true back button, installing whatever app I want through Sideloading, and the best reason of all is all the pro features I get without paying the pro price. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I enjoyed sharing my reasons as someone who's not likely to have this setup. As this channel grows, I might switch it up at some point so I can showcase more features on more devices to you guys. So please like and subscribe to support the channel, and see you in the next one.